Fire safety risk assessment is an essential process for evaluating potential fire hazards within a building or premises, determining who might be at risk, assessing the severity of those risks, and implementing preventive and protective measures to minimize the chances of a fire occurring or spreading. As fire protection professionals, we understand that this process is not merely a regulatory checkbox, but a crucial life-saving strategy that informs architectural planning, operational management, and emergency preparedness. At its core, a fire safety risk assessment provides a structured, evidence-based approach to safeguarding lives, property, and critical infrastructure. It applies to all types of buildings, from residential and commercial to industrial and institutional settings. The process typically involves 5 major steps: identifying fire hazards, identifying people at risk, evaluating and reducing the risks, recording findings and preparing an emergency plan, and reviewing and updating the assessment regularly. To begin with, identifying fire hazards requires a thorough inspection of the environment to detect potential sources of ignition, fuel, and oxygen, the 3 elements of the fire triangle. Ignition sources may include electrical equipment, faulty wiring, overloaded circuits, heating appliances, open flames, frictional heat from mechanical equipment, or even smoking materials. Fuel sources range from flammable liquids and gases to solid combustibles such as wood, paper, cardboard, fabrics, and accumulated waste. Oxygen, naturally present in air, can be increased in concentration by oxidizing chemicals or oxygen tanks in medical or laboratory facilities. A competent assessor must inspect every zone and operational process, including storage areas, kitchens, plant rooms, server rooms, and maintenance zones, to pinpoint where these elements might come together to form a fire risk. Once hazards are identified, it's crucial to document the precise nature, location, and potential consequences of these hazards in the context of the specific occupancy and activities of the site. The second step is identifying people at risk. This includes all occupants of the building, staff, visitors, contractors, and residents, but particular attention should be paid to vulnerable individuals. These include children, elderly persons, those with disabilities, people sleeping on the premises, and individuals unfamiliar with the environment such as guests in a hotel or visitors to a public building. High-risk areas might include bedrooms, crowded event spaces, basements, upper floors without direct exits, or areas with restricted mobility. It is also necessary to account for the time of day and building usage. For example, a shopping mall on a weekend afternoon has a vastly different risk profile than during off-hours maintenance. In workplaces, night shift workers, security personnel, or lone workers in remote areas require special consideration in the emergency planning phase. Understanding human behavior in fire situations is also essential. People tend to panic, ignore alarms, or attempt to exit through familiar routes instead of designated emergency exits, so fire risk assessments should include behavioral insights into evacuation planning. The third step is to evaluate, remove, reduce, and control the fire risks. Here, the assessor must critically analyze how likely each identified hazard is to cause a fire, what the consequences would be, and what actions can be taken to reduce the risks to acceptable levels. Fire risk evaluation typically includes assessing the adequacy of existing control measures such as detection systems, alarm systems, extinguishers, compartmentation, and escape routes. If deficiencies are found, for example, if a fire door is blocked, smoke detectors are not maintained, or escape routes are not illuminated, then corrective action is required. Risk reduction strategies generally follow a hierarchy: eliminate the hazard if possible, such as replacing a flammable substance with a non-flammable alternative; reduce the hazard, such as improving storage and handling of flammable materials; isolate the hazard, such as installing fire-resistant barriers; and control the hazard, such as implementing fire detection and suppression systems. Administrative controls, like training, fire drills, and signage, are also vital. Installing adequate signage, practicing realistic evacuation drills, assigning fire wardens, and training all occupants on the use of fire extinguishers and alarms are part of this strategy. Additionally, buildings must be designed with passive and active fire protection measures in mind. Passive protections include fire doors, fire-rated walls, and smoke dampers, while active systems include sprinklers, alarms, hydrants, and suppression agents. The fourth step involves recording the findings, preparing an emergency plan, and providing training. A documented fire risk assessment is not just a legal requirement in many jurisdictions, but a critical communication tool. It must include a comprehensive report detailing identified hazards, people at risk, risk evaluation, control measures in place, and recommendations for improvement. This documentation should be easy to understand and made available to key stakeholders including building owners, fire wardens, safety officers, and relevant authorities. Emergency plans should include procedures for raising the alarm, calling emergency services, evacuating safely, accounting for all individuals, assisting disabled persons, and managing fire extinguishing attempts, if safe to do so. Training is indispensable. All building occupants should know the emergency protocols, locations of escape routes, and assembly points. Fire drills should be conducted regularly, ideally under varying conditions to test response time, clarity of communication, and coordination. Fire warden training should cover hazard recognition, people management under stress, extinguisher use, and post-evacuation reporting. The final step in fire safety risk assessment is reviewing and revising the assessment regularly. Fire risks are not static, they evolve with time, occupancy changes, renovations, new equipment installation, and organizational changes. For instance, converting a storage room into a server room adds both ignition sources and high-value assets. Adding a new floor changes the egress dynamics. A growing business might mean more people, necessitating new exit strategies. Therefore, periodic reviews, at least annually or after any significant change, are crucial. This ensures that the risk assessment remains current, relevant, and effective in its objective to prevent, detect, contain, and manage fire-related incidents. An effective fire risk assessment also includes consultation with competent professionals and engagement with the fire service. In complex premises like hospitals, factories, or shopping malls, third-party fire safety consultants often bring the technical expertise necessary to model fire spread, simulate evacuation scenarios, and evaluate suppression systems with precision. Using modern tools like fire modeling software, smoke spread simulations, and evacuation flow analysis provides deeper insights and better risk mitigation strategies. Moreover, collaboration with the local fire department can ensure that emergency plans align with local protocols, access routes are maintained, and hydrant pressures are sufficient for fire engines. To sum up, fire safety risk assessment is not a one-time event, but a continuous safety management process. It demands an analytical mindset, technical know-how, and proactive leadership. It is the cornerstone of fire safety strategy, forming the foundation for engineering controls, emergency planning, and cultural awareness. Every building owner, safety officer, facility manager, and business operator should be equipped with the knowledge and responsibility to conduct or commission a thorough fire risk assessment. With this systematic approach, we can significantly reduce the threat of fire, ensure faster response times, and create safer environments for everyone.